the few days later, they had a large press conference in Berkeley. There were hardly any devotees there, and I was sitting right near the Vyasa-san, but there were quite a few, like 25 or 30 press people. And one of the questions, two of the questions that really struck me and have always stuck in my mind is, they asked Srila Prabhupada, so Swami, when you die, and he immediately interrupted them, and he said, I will never die. He said, I will live on in my books. And then they also said, so Swami, what is the significance of these big carts? And his eyes got really big, and he looked at them and he said, do you think that God should ride in a small car? I was in the sewing room, and Jayatirtha was taking Srila Prabhupada around and showing him, because they had just moved into the Berkeley temple, and he was showing him the new temple. And he came in and said, this is Kanka, and she is making canopies for the carts. And previous to that, my 2-year-old son, Krishna Kumar, had run into the room saying, Prabhupada's here, cookie, Prabhupada, cookie. So as soon as Srila Prabhupada came in and Jayatirtha introduced me, I said, Srila Prabhupada, my son, whenever he sees you, he says, cookie, cookie. And so Srila Prabhupada threw his head back, and he said, he started laughing, and he said, yes, the way to make a friend is to give him a cookie. I was at the Laguna Beach temple, and at that time Krishna Kumar, my first child, was 6 months old. And they had decided, the devotees had decided, that the mothers should leave the temple room with the children during the lecture. So it was a very small temple room. It was the old Laguna Beach that overlooked the ocean. And you had to walk in front of the Vyasa-san. Srila Prabhupada was sitting there, and Tulsi Das, at that time was the president of the Los Angeles temple, asked all the mothers to go out with the children. I was hiding in the corner because I really, really wanted to hear the lecture. So he said, Kanka, you have to take your baby out. So I was the last mother to leave, and as I'm walking in front of the Vyasa-san, Srila Prabhupada said to me, where are you going? And I looked. Tulsi was sitting in front of the Vyasa-san, and I looked at Tulsi with a snarl in my eye and said, he said I had to go out. And Srila Prabhupada said, no. He said, you go sit down. And so I went and sat down, and Krishna Kumar was very good during the entire lecture, and I remember specifically that is the lecture where he was talking about the Garuda birds. And he said Garuda is actually the king of the Garuda birds, and it's a flock of birds that fly from planet to planet, and they lay their eggs in space. And so after the lecture, I was sitting out on the wall, and Srila Prabhupada came right, he was walking down to his quarters, but he stopped right in front of Krishna Kumar and me, and he smiled and he patted Krishna Kumar on the head, as if to say he knew that he wouldn't make any noise during the lecture. Je anilo